So good morning, and thank you for joining us for this webinar to learn about securing government and grant funds for your business. I'm Todd Copeland, the General Manager for Community Futures Middlesex. Before I introduce our speaker, I just want to take a brief opportunity to familiarize you with Community Future Middlesex, our services and our programs. And if I can get my slide to progress here. So Community Futures Middlesex is an incorporated nonprofit with financial support from FedDev Ontario. We do a number of things. One of the things is business mentoring, consulting, provision of resources and support to small businesses and entrepreneurs. We do this all free of charge. Business financing in the form of loans. We're an alternative lender to the banks. We're not in competition with the banks. Our end goal is to make small businesses financeable by the banks. I'll touch on the various different products that we have in this area in a second. We're a champion for community economic development. We do this in consultation and in partnership with others. And that's a whole topic in itself. It could be another presentation here, so I won't go into great detail. We do workshops and training programs similar to the webinar that we're hosting this morning. We normally do this in person, but because of COVID, we've had to, like many others, have had to adopt digital technologies to be able to accommodate this. So this is actually our sixth webinar that we've hosted since the fall. We're working on a new lineup of webinars that we'll be hosting in the new year. So stay in touch with us, keep informed, follow us on different social media platforms or on our website, because that's where all the information about our webinars is put. So we do this all in support of supporting businesses, obviously economic growth, business growth, and that's our key primary thing. So whether it's creation of jobs, providing economic stimulus to try to help businesses either survive or start up, it's what we're all about. So if I can just push this along. So our target clients for our programs and services are entrepreneurs, small business owners, revenue generating nonprofits, social enterprises within the rural areas outside of the City of London. So that's the 3,000 square kilometers that forms a horseshoe from the west of London, Dorchester, all the way up to Glencoe. So this is our loans and financing slide, and it's just, I guess, the key point here. And I think I see there's a few of my board members are on this call. So this is a key message that they want me to get out there to the communities is that, this is the primary thing that we do. We manage greater than $8 million in investment funds within Community Futures Middlesex itself. Greater than 50% of those investment funds are now actively out in the community supporting small businesses, but we still have close to $4 million of money available to invest in small businesses. And we do this through a variety of our primary products. So our primary products are microloans of up to $30,000, small business loans of up to $300,000, and depending on the project, there's additional sources of investment funds that we can access and leverage to fund more significant projects if warranted. But I guess the key role that we're playing right now since the onset of COVID is that we've been serving as a delivery agent for the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. And so we've recently just received top-up funding to that. So we've been allocated over $1 million of Regional Relief and Recovery Fund to provide to small businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. And we do this through provision of loans of up to $40,000. These loans are 0% interest, no payment until March 31st, 2023. The unique aspect of this relief program is not unique because there's other competing programs out there that are also providing a similar type of level of support, including FedDev, our partner in this. But if 75% of that $40,000 is paid back by March 31st, 2023, then 25% is forgivable. So purpose of this slide really is to help you find us. The reason I say that is that we relocated to our new offices on the main street of Ilderton in April 2020. We launched a new website in July of 2020. And we've also focused on the website. We've also focused on our social media platforms and utilizing those more over the last few months, even more so, to share information, resources, links out to the community. So if you haven't checked out our website yet, I encourage you to. It's cfmiddlesex.ca, and you'll find links to our various social media platforms on there. So now I'm going to transition into the focus of why we're all here this morning. So the topic is securing government and grant funds for your business. So it's a real conversation starter, I think, around our office. We often get asked this question, and sometimes we can quickly identify sources of funding that may be available. Sometimes we cannot. Sometimes it's too late. Sometimes the funding is still available. Sometimes the well is dry. And often, the question really comes down to, is it truly free money, right? And I think the speaker we've brought in this morning is David Reynolds. So he's the CEO and founder of INAC Services. So INAC is a Guelph-based consultancy firm that keeps I would say, a finger on the pulse of the various government grant funding programs and incentives that are out there for business, both big and small. Fortunately, I've known David for, I guess we're trying to figure that out, probably the better part of 10 years, maybe more. He's been doing this for more than 20 years. And I've found him, anyways, my interactions with him are always very insightful, and he's always willing to share his expertise and opinion on this topic. So I'd like to welcome and introduce you to David Reynolds, and I look forward to the discussion that we're going to have this morning. So David, I'm going to stop my screen share. Okay. And we tested this out before and we didn't have any problems, but we'll go from there.
Theoretically, this should work. Okay, yeah. So hello everybody. I'll have to confess before I begin my slideshow, this is the first time I've done a Zoom presentation, so I'll be a little bit rusty, but I did get find a magazine that I don't know if you can see it or not, but it is called Zoomer, and so I think this is going to help me. I mean, I also went and watched all the episodes of The Crown just so that I would really understand what this is all about. So here we go, and what I'm going to do is do some presentations, and then I would halfway through I will be inviting Michelle Sands, who is your local community employment center, to do some speaking. So let's try to do this and wish me the best. So let me see if we can do this at the beginning. I just have to start here. So we've been around for quite a while, since 1987. And so we've got basically 33 years of experience. We've had 350 clients, and we've raised 1.2 billion in funding as of August of this year. What we've done is we've also basically gotten funding from 6 prime ministers and about 7 premiers. So kind of knowing that what we've seen is changes in what their priority is, and what we find is we've been very successful in sort of answering those priorities as we've gone after funding. So what we've created is to get people to understand what type of funding is out there. Is we've created this thing called Theirs Funding, and what Theirs is, and I had to do a last minute change just because of interest, but it stands for training. So new or existing employees, or those who may become laid off, as well as training for management, for hiring. And we looked at that as apprenticeships, apprentices, new employees, temp workers, personnel under 30, consultants, summer students, and co-ops. This should have been up there, but then we have the exporting, which is of course anywhere outside of Canada. Research, we could put down research and development, but basically anything you're doing to maybe adapt a piece of equipment, trying to do something that there isn't a plan out there that you can just plug and play. And expansion or expanding, and this is sort of a big catch-all, and that's from buying equipment, for doing retrofits, to actually buying a building. So this is, and our last one is sustainability, and this comes and goes. I know today the Ontario government is being there's going to be a report on their GHG reductions during the Ford government, but basically sustainability and energy waste and GHG reduction is sort of the catch-all. I was going to put another E there, but that'd be there because you could have had like environmental, but I left it at that. So I want to start off with I'm going to stop here for a second because I want the training and hiring. You've got a really good resource, Michelle Sands. So I don't know how we're going to do this, but let me just stop the present. Maybe maybe I can stop talking and Michelle can talk. Would that be the best way of doing this?
Sure, whatever you want.
Sure, and I'll just, I mean, you're going to be talking about this, so I'll leave it on and let you kind of go through with that. How's that?
Thanks, David. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you asking me to, to chat about what we do and some of the business resources and incentives that we can actually support employers with. So like Todd and the Business Help Center, we're the catchment area around London. So Dorchester, Glencoe, Lucan, Park Hill, Elsa Craig. We've been serving people throughout the county for over 20 years with employment support. And so we've got a team of employment advisors that work every day with individuals on their job search, resume writing, cover letter, accessing the hidden job market. Often people will come to us looking for opportunities with apprentices or second career. So there's a wide range of things that we do that way. My role is a little bit different. I'm what's called a business advisor / job developer. I connect with employers throughout Middlesex County. So I do a lot of different, just very different. I connect our clients to employers. So sometimes can really create a more personal strategy for our clients. I'm able to connect with employers and help them access financial training incentives. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The Ontario Job Grant, as well as I do a lot of recruitment and pre-screening. So anything that I can do to help make the life of an employer a little bit easier, that's really what I feel my job is, to serve the community in that way. So the Canada-Ontario Job Grant, if you want to apply for that, it is a grant that allows an employer to train or upgrade their employee skills and receive up to $10,000 per participant. In order for you to access that grant, you actually need to access that grant through an agency like ours. So if you're in the Middlesex County area and you want to find out more about the Ontario Job Grant, you'd be giving me a call. I would help you with understanding the application process, what the government is looking for currently. So I always say to people, what I'm telling you today is what I know today. It could change tomorrow, but that you'd be calling me and I'd walk you through that. So even before you go to apply, I encourage people to give me a call so that I can help you understand some of the languaging that goes along with this particular application. I'm sure David can attest to, the whole idea about writing grants and specific languaging that every grant might ask of you. It can be a little daunting and it can be a little confusing sometimes. So I hope to clear that confusion out for people. The other is, so if you hire somebody from our candidate pool, we can offer what's called a job placement or a job match placement incentive. This is incentives where the government says, if you hire somebody who's unemployed or been working part-time and you want to provide them with an opportunity for a new job or position, and you are willing to put some time into training them, we can then provide that employer with money to be able to help offset your costs. So as an example, let's say you're looking for a production assembler or something like that, and you call me up and you say, hey, Michelle, just wondering if you've got anybody in your candidate pool that would fit that description. And let's say I say yes. And so we can then provide you with, I'm going to say, it depends. I have to do an eligibility there. As an employer, you have to make sure you've got your WSIB, third-party liability insurance. And then I take a look at the training that you're able to offer. So on average, I give between $1,500 to $2,000 per person for about 4 weeks of training. So you actually hire them on, they're on your payroll. Right. And for the first 4 weeks, that money is allocated for you to put towards supporting their training. At the end of the 4 weeks, then we do sort of a follow-up to make sure that everything was working well. If you want to do an apprenticeship, so there's also signing bonuses for those employers that are interested in hiring somebody through the skilled trades. If you want to receive a financial incentive signing bonus, you actually have to do it through what I just talked about, which is called the job match placement incentive. So if you hired an apprentice electrician, and you came through us, through our candidate pool, we could offer you that, say, $1,500 to $2,000. Then once they've registered with the ministry and the College of Trades, and you are a sponsor and you've signed off on the paperwork, then you're able to provide me with that paperwork. Then I can offer you an additional $1,000 upon receiving that. If that individual is still there after 6 months, you get another $1,000. So there's a wide range of incentives that you can look at. We also have a really cool program that's called the Youth Job Connect program. That's where you're providing youth with an opportunity to, in some cases, youth have not had a lot of job experience. Youth up to 29, so between 15 and 29, can be in it's kind of like an earn to learn, or earn while you're learning program. So they're with, depending on which program they go in, they're paid to be in our program. They're facilitated by one of our employment advisors who, works through all the elements of what they need to understand about, things in their job search, resume, cover letter, connecting with employers. I work with the youth, and some of the youth really would just love to have an opportunity to have a chance at a position. So I will connect with an employer and say, are you interested in providing a youth an opportunity to, work? And then we can give you some money towards that. There's also a lot of resources available to that individual who we're working with. Maybe they need some work boots or clothing. Through our agency, we can support them with that as well. So those really are in a nutshell, some of those incentives. I encourage you to call me at any point. I know, David, you said you'd have those links there. It is a little bit confusing, as I said, but not that difficult for me to sit with you or chat with you at any point to go through any of these items that I talked about today.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. And also, we work quite closely with Community Employment Choices. So if people are looking to get in contact directly with Michelle, if you wanted to contact us, we'll send you her direct contact information by email as well. So if you're thinking that you might benefit from some of these support programs.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Michelle. So a couple of others. So what I've done here is some of the programs that Michelle has mentioned, I have created just a brief description. And if you click on the program, it will take you right to her website. So a couple of other training programs that are coming out there. There was one called Amy Global for training you in export development. That is out of money, but what we're understanding is there will be a new one coming in the new fiscal year starting April 1. And that might be 75% up to 100,000 for greenhouse gas reduction initiatives. And they're trying to extend it so it's even doing things like improving your logistics, your shipping, doing a better supply chain. I'm kind of excited about it. Karen Brearley, who runs it, is an awesome person, and I think she'll be creating a program that be very applicable to many different businesses. The one that I kind of wanted to kind of highlight, though, and because I know there are several of you that are in the service industry or retail, is this digital transformation grant program. And basically it's $2,500 to do things like getting software, anything to improve your digital marketing expertise. And I think I went on the line, I thought, okay, let's just see how hard this is. And actually it was very easy. I was approved it was just like answer these questions. I was probably approved and it was less than 10 minutes. The next step that I need to do is watch these videos that are online. There's a series of 7 of them. And frankly, I mean, I'm an old guy. I didn't really want to learn all this stuff. I kind of like using crayons and a piece of paper. But I found that this is a really easy program. I don't know if you've mentioned it in anything else, Todd, but truly, I mean, for companies that are in the sort of your downtown core, which that's even kind of vaguely, I mean, I don't live downtown Guelph. I live about 4 blocks away, but somehow I've been approved. Very easy to get some funding, and even for some stuff to increase your social media. So
David,
yeah.
can I put one point in here? So we actually 2 weeks ago we hosted our webinar, and the focus was the Digital Main Street program and the Future Proof program. And so we had our local Regional Innovation Center, which is Tech Alliance, who's the delivery agent for Digital Main Street. And we had the managing lead for the Digital Main Street program from Toronto come on and talk about how all these different programs interact. And there's something for everyone at different stages of adoption, right? So I think that's a great program that people should be aware of.
Yeah, and hopefully, I was quite impressed. So what I've done here are some of the programs that Michelle mentioned: the Youth Job Connection, the Employment Placement Initiatives, the apprenticeship. So this is sort of a summary of what she was mentioning. The other one, the one that I kind of find is interesting though is, and they just got new funding. It's 75% to $7,500 to hire well, they say the word co-op is getting out of it. So it's just to hire a college and university student. They're now accepting applications for this from January to April. Again, a very simple program. They've expanded to a point of, including math and business. If you're looking at the digital part, if you need to hire a geek, what a great way. You can get the digital $2,500. Plus, you can get somebody to actually do it. So people like me never have to learn how to do this stuff. So I think it's an easy program. I would say apply very quickly, again, because these programs come and go. And specifically, the next one, it's kind of added, it's called the Science Horizon Internship Program, but there's like 5 of these in that realm of funding, where basically you hire somebody under 30 to do anything from technical to environmental to it can be manufacturing, food processing. The gamut is quite broad, and frankly, because of COVID and the idea that there are so many people unemployed, it's relatively easy to get. The program is out of money, but they're already taking people that got a waiting list, and I really stress, get on that, because I'm saying March, but it could be even earlier than that before that funding is going to be available. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was, so that's the hiring. So the next thing is sort of, if you have any questions, raise your hand if you want me to explain a little bit more about these programs. I should mention the last one, talking about hiring youth, the last one we did was for an online company that sells shampoo and supplements. And we were able to get the whole gamut of $20,000 to hire somebody just to help them do more of their CRM, customer resource management system, and it worked out quite well. Very easy to do the application and simple documentation to get the funding and to just do the reports. So good program. The next thing is the expansion, and you know, I talked about Todd's program, and I realized that I actually sent out a bulletin to a lot of people and put down the wrong information. So I was a little bit gun shy, put more than just saying this is Todd's program and leave that as a line, and he's already explained it. The other one is when you're getting a little bit bigger, I think, is if we're going to go with simplicity to get a little harder, and that's it's the business scale up and productivity stream. We've had tons of success in your area getting funding for this. The idea is basically, they're looking for you're upgrading your technology, your equipment, and hiring, and those are sort of the bases of the fund. And basically, they give you money up front to when you actually are approved. Now it is an interest-free loan, and right now, you know, if you can get a bank loan, it's not as attractive as it used to be, but still, you know, if the idea is it can offset a lot of costs. You don't need collateral. Again, it's not against the loan. So say you buy a piece of equipment, they don't hold any type of a guarantee on that equipment. So then you can go and get more money if you need to. Yeah, it's what we see is you're not looking at this if you're only going to be spending $500,000, but if you're getting into a significant, you know, expansion, say, well, we always say around 2.5 million to 3 million. So you're building a new building, you're buying equipment, you're hiring, and that you're doing that over 3 to 4 years. Now, they're saying December 31st, 2023, but because of COVID, we know, well, we've had clients that have been able to expand the payment, the length of their project, as well as the payment terms, which is up to 3 years later, past 2023. The other thing is we've also gotten funding out of this for training. So getting back to the hiring and the training, they do provide funding for that. The Southwestern Ontario program, I mean, Southwestern Ontario Development Program, it's the next level up of getting funding. We actually did get $500,000 for a processor just outside your area. The interesting thing is they do give you a chunk of the money right up front as soon as your application is approved and you've signed the contract. My thing now that I'm finding with this program, however, is they give you around 25% at the beginning, but you're looking at sometimes like 25% that they hold back to 30% 3 or 4 years later. So, you know, it's kind of to me, it's like, well, hold it. If I need the money, I need it now. I don't need it, you know, 4 years down the road. But they hold that back to make sure you do the employment numbers that you said you're going to do and do the expenditures. Frankly, I just think it's a budget to keep their budget for each year down. So, but the next application is March 4th. Whereas the FedDev, you can do it at any time. Now we're going into research, and I'm going to quickly mention these. You've got and again, when you get this presentation, all you have to do is click on the the name, and it'll take you right to the site. So, the Industrial Research Assistance Program has been around forever. I forgot to put the guy's name. I think it's a bit Ron Evans, right? I think that is the area person. My concern is they're good if they like you, they're bad if they don't. But I mean, basically where we've gotten money from that is if you have a client that wants something and you need to kind of reconfigure a piece of equipment in a way that you've never been able, it's never worked before, that type of thing, they seem to fund. Of course, I think everybody now knows about the tax credits. The part that IRAP doesn't fund, you can get the tax credits for research that you've done before. Where I like kind of the stuff that's maybe on a smaller business that we've enjoyed is the MyTac program, which will help you hire university students and college students to undertake research. And the one that we did just recently was for a nutraceutical company, and we got them involved with the college to do the testing of the efficacy of a new herb that they were trying out. And I thought that was kind of cool. The ones that I kind of like, I wanted to, some other ones, and I like these because they're playful. And these are funding for using a college or university person. I've actually myself gone after the first three funds. One is NSERC Engages for funding for using a college person. The Alliance grants are for hiring a university students, and then it kind of keeps going up. And if you actually create something great, then you can get money to market that through the Ideas to Innovation. What I did was I wanted to know how to put booze into ice cream. So what I did was I actually connected with the University of Guelph, and we talked about the micro encapsulation of alcohol into ice cream. And it was fun. It was a nice project. Frankly, I didn't pay a dime for it. And we got to a point of realizing that, number one, I just don't eat that much ice cream. But secondly, it's really more difficult than what it seems. But I think it's a chance for people who have an idea to have that first sort of preliminary identification if it's actually working. I think I actually drank more booze than I ate ice cream during the process, but it was fun. So the next area is export development, and frankly, there are sector programs, meaning that there's funding specifically for wood manufacturers or for food processors, but the overall program that captures funding for most companies is Can Export. We actually, I have to say, we were involved with the development of the program as far as the revamping and recently the kind of retwigging of the program. I should say we're the ones that conceived it, but they actually came to us and said, how can we make this program better? And so with that, we were able to suggest the idea, well, why don't you bring in people that sell, brokers that sell Canadian products into another country, where they bought the product and then they had to sell it. So that has now become part of the funding mechanism. Cool again is if you are actually looking at increasing your social media, this will pay 75% up to 50,000 for you to actually take that and expand it into other countries. Love it. I'm not a big fan of the federal government, but I find that the people with Can Export, they've been amazing. They're helpful. They want to work. Now, I mean, there is a higher demand, but I still think, and I wouldn't go after this program if you're going for $10,000. It's a bit arduous, but if you're looking at spending $50,000 on maybe redoing your website, doing social media. And the other thing is, it'll allow you to hire a consultant. And the thing is, so when you're talking about hiring, and if you're going to be hiring a marketing person that may be looking at the export market, don't put them on your payroll. Apply through this program and make them a consultant, a subcontractor. And we've done this several times and it's worked out well. So the idea is, and you can keep them on for up to two, just as soon as they develop one market, you could reapply and get them to develop another. So it's a great program. And right now, I mean, the idea, they used to pay for attendance at trade shows and travel, but of course, with COVID, that's been suspended for the near future. Except probably people from Alberta, aren't they getting the vaccine in January, so maybe they'll let them go someplace first. So the last one is sustainability, and the provincial government doesn't, I don't know, they're a little bit off on the greenhouse gas bandwagon. But we have gotten money from this. It's a large fund. I mean, it's the SD Tech Fund. Interesting enough, in order to apply, you have to do a PowerPoint presentation. But they're willing to help, and we did get funding for a company that was developing a new logistics system. And actually, we did another one for capturing natural gas off of oil pipelines. So we've done some cool stuff. Very hard to get. There's about a 20% success rate. But if you really do have a project that does reduce greenhouse gases, they'll work with you. And the idea is they also connect you with other government offices who may be able to provide some type of support. The one that's right out now, and of course it may be, again, it's definitely not for a small person, but the idea is to reduce your greenhouse gases if you have fleets. And it doesn't have to be the transportation company. It could be your own company and figuring out how do we reduce our greenhouse gases? Well, basically our travel expenses for our shipping our goods. And then if you can figure it out, then they'll give you up to $100,000 to actually implement that. There used to be a lot of more programs. Well, there are several other funding programs in this realm. The issue is, as everybody's mentioning, the deadlines have come and passed. So there has been funding for reducing greenhouse gases in greenhouses. There's been funding for reducing greenhouse gases or pollution for fish processors. The list goes on, definitely for agricultural products. It was an incredible one. We've been working on doing a standalone greenhouse, and we're looking at basically it'll be self-sufficient. It generates its own power, and we were able to get, it's $500,000 on the first call and 1.5 million on the second. Again, I don't think it was our wordsmithing. It was a darn good project. So I kind of want to tell you a few secrets that, I've done this for 34 years. And a couple of things that I over my years that I find that kind of been effective and also have really reduced the stress of going after funding. First of all, what we've talked about almost 99% is grant funding. And grant funding basically is, they won't fund anything that you've already started before getting government approval for that activity. So, if we get people calling us and saying, hey, I just bought this piece of equipment. Is there any funding? Well, there might have been, but, unfortunately you would have to ask us that 4 months ago or 5 months ago, because it usually takes 3 to 4 months to get an approval. I can't even believe that anymore. Sometimes it's I've got one up to years. Anyway, just plan ahead. So the idea is, think, think out what you're going to be doing the next 4 months to a year, to even up to 4 years. What I did though, for finding out what is really, really important in an application, we actually did canvass all these different organizations. And Todd, I don't know, you took off someplace. I don't know where you went to, so I should have asked you as well. But and Michelle, I just met you, so I'm sorry about that. But we did ask, FedDev, we asked the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade, NRC, which NRC actually gave us an opinion. And we went around and said, well, seriously, what do you think makes a successful application? And these are the answers. First one is kind of going from the least effective to the most. Don't write it as being a third party, be first party. They want to hear that there's a human being that is behind the application. So write in like, our company, I need to do this. So, oh, sorry. So that's the first thing. Do not make it third party. Oh, okay. See if so the idea is the next two is present your project to how it will address the fund's goals and objectives. We actually cut and paste saying this is the goal and objective. When they say in the project, what is the goal objectives, we basically paste what they told us the goal and objectives are and then kind of elaborate. And we cut and paste several of these phrases out of the application because they want to hear exactly what they're looking for. People love how, people, I think, even when I started this, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write the next Ernest Hemingway. I got the beard, I'm chubby. I thought, this would be, this is going to be my profession. I'm going to be writing these creative writing things. Yeah, it is creative writing, but it's still in a parameter of answering the questions that the funder wants to hear. The idea is also, you have more and more stress is, how does this program or what we're doing benefit others? Michelle talked about, you're hiring youth that are finding it difficult to get a job, or for you're reducing greenhouse gases. You're going to, your new equipment is going to be the next cat's meow, and everybody else is going to rally around it, and they'll all buy it, and will be a better place. So it's take a lot of the focus on how it benefits you and your company, and how that has a greater benefit to Ontario and Canada. This is final though. So basically, when you're talking, the idea is people don't know you. They don't know your project. And the interesting thing is when I get people telling me these long words and they're all these convoluted things, and I have no clue of what they're talking about, and I'm supposed to be the one who's going to be kind of condensing it. I find that this is a really interesting problem. You have to make it, well, keep it simple, stupid, or whatever. You have to speak in layman's terms. And lastly, it's like you need to answer the questions. I mean, just look at them and say, when they say, how many employees are you going to hire? We're going to hire this. I have one person who works for me, actually is in the Chatham area, and Pete Schultz. And Pete Schultz was, he came with me after I worked with Nestle's Canada, and he was the vice president of purchasing. And I cringe with his applications. And it's because, my wife teaches English as a second language. I have this desire to be this fantastic writer. Pete is almost like, Eeyore or Grog, the caveman. He just basically just kind of scribbles down and writes exactly what they say. You want to know this, I give you this. And it's so concise. It is so just, the word's quotidian. He just writes very simple and very clear and answers every question. And he's incredibly successful. In fact, I was hoping he could be here because He actually does this better than I do. The other one is my experience. And the one thing is that we will save lots of time and frustration to understand the golden rule. And the golden rule of government funding is they have the goal, they make the rules. Do not think you're going to change that. I had been successful maybe 3 times in my career of 34 years to get the government to actually change something. And I mean, they were monumental changes that they had to go through. I think it was through the Treasury Board. It was amazing. The idea is this is what they're going to give you. This is what they've got. You can yell, scream, jump up and down, but they have the money. So save yourself a lot of frustration. So I want to say thank you, but the thing is that down below I'm going to suggest the best thing for you to do is subscribe to our bulletin. Again, you click the URL. What we do is every time that there's an update on new funding, we post that, and it's free. It comes to your place. All it is we don't do any advertising. All it is the facts. The information is like what I've shown you. It's very condensed. If you want more information, you can definitely click us. But again, the URL is all you have to do is click the name of the program and it'll take you right to the site. And frankly, truly, I've been doing this for such a long time and I still miss stuff. I realized that I missed, when I was looking at this, it was something for the film industry. And I thought, oh, I missed that one. There was something for publishing. I was like, oh, I missed that one. I subscribe to every bloody government news feed and everything, but I don't know. I don't know how some people get the information, even at this stage, and I don't. I mean, every day I'm clicking, but you will miss stuff. And so I think we are we'll give you a little bit of an advantage of what is coming on. And that bulletin, I mean, we usually do 1 or 2 a week. If not, if you have any questions, you can either email me. And I'm a little bit different. Well, I don't know if I am, but the idea is I truly believe that everybody should have the equal accessibility to funding. So I'm not too concerned if you don't use our services. I'm more concerned if you don't actually apply. So I think that's it. I'd love to hear some questions. And I have a couple of slides perhaps that can answer some specific sector inquiries. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Maybe people think about their questions, and at this point, I think we could just, if you feel comfortable enabling your video and you want to communicate your question instead of entering it or typing it into the chat, we will look at the chat if you feel more comfortable doing that. But I guess one question just to kind of start, David, is I think you did a good job of giving kind of an overview of the different programs, and they're programs that I've lived through because I've been in different roles in helping companies collaborate with academic partners, larger scale projects, smaller stuff like that. From the perspective of a small business owner, and you mentioned, I think we've had this discussion about what's out there for your smaller business, your service-based businesses that are out in the community, aside from maybe accessing funding to help with training and recruitment and stuff, the work that Michelle's doing. Is there a and we always sort of, is there a void there in terms of accessing those programs unless you're doing these specific activities like research and development, collaboration, and this type of thing, which would tend to be the focus of the government funding programs?
Well, I think what I liked about your program, I mean, let's face it, I mean, that's sort of the COVID fund. I mean, in my experience and when we've applied, it does allow companies to have a latitude of what they need for funding. You're saying that it's, I think it's one of the better programs, and what you're doing with the loans seem to allow for that opening. For other stuff, I really do believe it is very much specific to the activity. There are organizations like bioenterprise that have these contests where you could get 5,000 or 10,000. Again, they come and go. But to say that there's one, Todd, this is my experience, maybe it's different for you, but we find that to have this sort of this a general call me and we'll fund you, I think it doesn't really exist. And I mean, you can always wordsmith. I mean, you know, training, hiring, renovations, you know, there is a bit of things you can do to wordsmith, but at this point in time, I'm just trying to think. Definitely for food processors, for the smaller food processors, there's a variety. So, but it's sector driven. But for, say, a hairdresser, you know, hairdressing salon, be very difficult to actually. I mean, after, other than hiring, it would be very difficult, and training, it would be very difficult to find funding. That's my, I'm sorry to say that, but
yeah. So in some cases, and that's sort of the conclusion we get to in consulting with some of the clients that we do have, is that sometimes, you know, because they're looking for, first of all, the free money versus the loans, right? Which is what we typically provide. But even a loan is, we always tell them it's better than using your own money.
absolutely,
To sort of realize the vision, right? So that's good. We might have a question here that I'll read to you, David. Is there a due date for submissions? David said, let's wait. David said some grants take 3 to 12 months before approved. What is your advice when to submit? So that, I guess, going back to where you kind of alluded to, that you have to be prepared, right, in advance and think it through.
So I would say look around 3 to, so I'd say if you're going to, now for the hiring and training, Michelle will probably can state, you know, it doesn't take 3 or 4 months, you know, but I would, so I mean, I think we did 1 in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on the complexity. But the other ones, like when it's looking at equipment, export development and such, you should look at least 3 months.
Yeah, and there's a second part to this question, David, and they're asking, is there a certain, this goes back to, I think, how the grant funding typically works, where there's pools of money allocated to specific programs, and the question is there a certain number of submissions per year or quarter that are accepted? Well, till the money runs out, I think, right? If that's the
well, yeah. I mean, and that's we've always been cognizant of that. Like the provincial governments these days, I find that they are announcing a lot of programs. Many of them are very minuscule. They have very small budgets. The one that they did for digital media for agriculture, food processing, I think the full budget was like 1.5 million. And it was insane because the money went within a few weeks, but then it took them 4 months to actually make a decision, and then they reopened it because some of the people that actually didn't get had applied decided that it was just too late and they'd already done, you know, the activities that they're requesting funding for. So, you know, yeah, I there definitely is limits to how much the funding is. And what I've tried to do today is kind of give you sort of those ones that, you know, are sort of more steadfast, reliable. I have one right now. If you are a food processor, the government just gave out, announced $30 million for waste reduction, which I kind of find funny to do that COVID-19 time where everybody's gaining weight. So I don't know how much more food is being, I would think that we have less food being wasted right now because we're all consuming it. So, but it's just like $30 million and you know, there's a deadline. And I just find it's kind of an interesting finite. I thought, well, do I bring this stuff like that in when, you know, comes and goes within a very short period of time? But if you can figure out a way of reducing food waste, but not reducing agricultural sales, let me know.
Right. Does anybody have a specific question for David while we or Michelle? Michelle's still on the line about some of the presentation that you'd like to ask. Feel free to just turn yourself off of mute and join the call.
Yeah, and you can always call me as well. I mean, the other part of it is, if we're talking, if I noticed you have woodworking, Dave, we just were approved for, I think it was $500,000 to expand a pellet company, and we got that from that they were buying Ontario lumber. So that's why I asked you that. And food processors right now, I mean, we just went through getting money for equipment, and right now, if you're a farmer or a food processor, hold on tight, because there's several programs that are being launched. The next year, if what we're hearing is that both the federal government has already mentioned stimulus programs in the billions, and that's probably going to happen in Ontario. So get ready, think, what you're going to be doing in the next year. And there, because I do believe, I strongly believe that we need something to do to recover from COVID. And my guess is the focus is going to be on import replacement rather than export. And that's what I'm seeing is sort of, they're starting to talk about, like, it's cheaper to actually regain business that is in Canada than the idea of going out and trying to get that business outside of Canada. So it's going to be an interesting time. They probably will do that with greenhouse gas reduction, because, like I said, if you don't have to bring in apples from Washington, which is 51% of the apples we eat every day are imported in Ontario. But we can say, hey, you know what? Let's buy a robotic apple picking machine, and we'll buy domestic apples, and we'll replace that import, which will reduce greenhouse gases. So I have this is a rumbling I'm hearing, and I'm very excited about that.
No, that's good. So I don't see any other questions here, but I will. I guess one thing that I guess I'll take an opportunity, because David, you mentioned this Regional Relief and Recovery Fund too. So we're right now in the stage of delivery of that program where it's demand-based allocation, right? So we've been given the original 1 million, then we put it out into the community, and now there's top-up funding. So it's really based on demand, and demand on a very short term. So if you have been impacted by COVID as a business owner, right, and you can show the effect of COVID on your fixed operating costs, and haven't been able to access SEBA or other programs that can offset it, and you're still in need of additional support or assistance, then that's where Community Futures Middlesex and within Middlesex County can be of assistance to those businesses, where you could take advantage of that 40,000 with the up to 25% forgivable to sort of hedge against the uncertainty that we have. We're all kind of navigating going forward over the next few months of what's going to happen with the economy, and that's really there for the taking. It won't be here, like you said, like it's a program that has not infinite to know that this is not going to be something that 8 months down the road, we might not have to be able to be in a position to support you in that way. So if you are thinking about it, I encourage you to contact our office as well, and we can be of assistance. So
Todd, this has been fun.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your insight. It's a hard topic, and I always enjoy the discussions. And thank you, Michelle, for joining us this morning. And definitely feel free to reach out to any one of us. I think we all shared our contact. If you need Michelle's direct contact information, just send us an email, and we've already been sharing it out to individuals as well. So thank you, David, and thank you, Michelle, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. And we appreciate the interest and continued support. So cheers.